Grace and peace be unto you from God our Father. Broken for me. Surely, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. These words come to us from Isaiah 53, verses 4 and 5. Suffering can be personal and private, or it can be collective and public. The suffering of Jesus seems to have been combining every of those elements. It was personal, but it was public. Individual, yet collective. He died himself, but his death was entirely for others. The word surely repeats so tellingly in the opening section of this chorus, and it truly sets the scene. We've been introduced to the suffering servant of the Lord, despised and rejected, the man of sorrows. But now we're given a reason for it. Surely he hath borne our griefs. This is the reason, is the meaning, its purpose. This was no blind tragedy, but working out of the sure purpose of God and the plan that God had. If surely introduces the idea, capturing a sense of purpose, then the other key word must be for. The brief preposition gives meaning to every sentence. He hath bore our griefs for us. He has carried our sorrows for us. For our transgressions he was wounded. For our iniquities he was bruised. The chastisement of our peace. That's so easy to say. The punishment that brings us peace was carried by him, not by us. And our healing comes through his stripes. His wounds heal us. This whole passage speaks of sacrifice. Not now the offering of sins, but the sacrifice made for our good. Just as myrrh was a price of forgiveness, so there is a price for wholeness. There is no cheap grace in Bonhoeffer's memorable phrase. It costs something to heal the wounds of bruised humanity, to bear its sorrows and earn its peace. Healing its wholeness, being made whole, and in a mysterious way, the healing of the human race flows from the offering of the life of Jesus. His wounds heal us. Peter quotes some of these words in 1 Peter 2:24 and applies them directly to the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. He himself bore our sins in his body on the cross, so that, free from sin, we might live for righteousness. By his wounds you all have been healed. The apostle sees the cross both as the forgiveness of sin and the source of true inner healing. That wholeness, which is God's will for all his people. Because Jesus died for sin, we can be forgiven. Because Jesus died for sin, human suffering can be healed. This is not so much a doctrine of substantiation as of liberation. The death of Jesus, the obedient servant of the Father, releases us from the results of human disobedience. We are not simply spared the penalty for our sins, but released from their consequences. All throughout the history of the church, theologians have argued as to precisely how this could be brought about. Doctrines and theories of atonement have been debated and even fought over. Even today, there are Christians who will insist that the benefit and blessing of the death of Jesus must be appropriate in this or that manner, in accordance with a particular way of understanding the cross. To be honest, in the New Testament, there is not any one all-embracing theory of atonement. What there is are half a dozen ways of which understanding what is, essentially, a mystery happened. We should be content to say that whatever Jesus did when he died on the cross, he did it for us, not for himself. In fact, like Paul, let's go a bit further than that. He spoke of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Galatians 2:20. And the emphasis, as he wrote the words, is on the personal pronoun. He loved me and gave himself for me. Whatever Jesus did on that barren hill outside of Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, he did it for us so that we could be healed. We could be made whole. We could be brought back as an obedient child to the Father. The man of sorrows was also the man for others. There is something indescribably splendid about a life lived so conspicuously for the good of other people. And the death offered is so totally for the forgiveness and healing of those who needed it. Christ couldn't die for his own sins because he hadn't any. So he died for those who needed it instead.